Thank you, Sören. We're
Hello.
still waiting, I think, for Tom. Yes.
I'm pushing buttons.
Right.
It's not knowledge graph, but just buttons.
Yeah, just knowledge. So, are there questions? I think Mark Greiner has a question, if I see this correctly. Mark, please.
Hello, I'm back. Thank you, Professor Auer, for the nice presentation. I really actually appreciate the way you presented it, because just so happens the introduction to my presentation is almost identical to yours, which you'll see tomorrow. Anyway, I have a question regarding RDF triples and the semantic web in general. I mean, I think it's a beautiful idea, and I would love to see it implemented on a wide scale. But I just find it's extremely challenging when you get down to the end user's case, where they actually have to enter in these semantic triples. I mean, in principle, any piece of information, it can go to such a fine granularity that someone could be filling out a form for hours before all of the triples are covered. So my question is more, in the example that you presented, for example, the COVID case, the annotating was done, I guess, by someone who has lots of knowledge and experience in modeling semantic triples and so on. No?
Actually not. The COVID case was very easy. And often, of course, it might be different domains, but often only very few information is important. Yeah. In the COVID case, it's actually really three things. It's the R0 value, it's the time frame, and the location where the study was performed. And this can be done by someone who has not much experience. We actually also automatize that. We run also like similar as we heard earlier today, automatic extraction techniques, NLP techniques to extract this automatically. But you usually reach a precision of, if you are a good of 70–80%, often it's even much lower, and then it needs to be manually validated. But I think you're right. It can become very cumbersome and complicated, but that's why we want to focus on, for example, this tabular also view. If people often have in mind a certain comparison, how they would compare different approaches or different algorithms or different analysis, and this tabular view allows them then maybe to add their own research to the graph relatively easily and to focus on what is important. And you're completely right. It can become very cumbersome, very complicated if you want to represent everything from your paper. But we want to start with the gist, with the most important facts, which are important for others to judge whether this is interesting and relevant.
So if I may follow that up, when you do the annotation with triples, it's done with an implicit assumption on how that data will be queried.
That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, for example, you took all these data sets, and there was one particular number you were interested in seeing, and so this was done. So, but then if you can automate that process, I guess, right? If you can.
I think there are many open questions, and how to track the evolution there of such a scholarly knowledge graph. Also, how to query it if the representations vary across different domains. But I think still, even if we don't solve these problems now, we can already build something which is several dimensions better what we have. Yeah, I think these piles of PDF papers, I think that's much worse. I agree that in a knowledge graph we have a lot of new problems, but I think machines can assist us much better with these new problems once we use such a semantic representation structure. And I fully agree with you that there are many open questions there, how to evolve the schema, how to find representations for different domains, how to go to what level of granularity in detail. But I'm confident we can figure them out step by step.
Thank you very much. And please have a look at my presentation tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about approaching it from the other side and try to merge with semantic web. Thank you.
Maybe I should use my opportunity as a moderator to be a bit immodest, and because there are very interesting questions that I get from various people like Andreas Scharnhorst, Bernd Mons, but nevertheless, as a material scientist, this sounds awfully important to anyone being working in science. But if we focus now on material science, what is necessary to know as an undergraduate or maybe as a graduate student of these theoretical backgrounds in order to function properly in the next decade?
Yeah, I think what we need to do is to lower the entrance barrier into this, and that's what we try with the Open Research Knowledge Graph. In the beginning, it's as simple as filling out a form. Actually, maybe the Google services are a good example. Yeah, so it's very easy to use a Google spreadsheet or a Google document, and similarly easy, we are not yet there, but we want to make it as easy also to populate the knowledge graph. You fill out the form, you see a table, you want to add some information to the table, and maybe you don't even notice, but you build a knowledge graph underneath. You added a table or a form. For you, it looks very simple, but in the end, you build a knowledge graph. And there were examples where it worked already. If you look at Wikipedia, there was DBpedia, which we extracted from Wikipedia. There is Wikidata. And there are people collaborating and on rich semantic structures. There's also maybe the biggest example is also schema.org, yeah, which is a knowledge graph put forward by Google and other e-commerce and search engines. And almost 30%, 40% of the web pages contain the schema.org markup and basically contain such triples, such facts. And they are integrated, and in the end, they facilitate web search. And we need similar things for research and science. And my impression is the basic ideas are relatively simple, representing facts and subject, predicate, object statements, how to connect them. And then we need to allow them to step by step take this to higher levels and to query it. Of course, once you want to do reasoning or use comprehensive query languages, it gets a bit more cumbersome, complicated. But once you see the value in it, I think people are more inclined to learn also new things.
On behalf of all participants, I would like to thank you for your contribution. It's very interesting and also very much to think about. And
I also would like to invite you to send me an email and to contact me if you have any ideas how we could bring your research to the Open Research Knowledge Graph. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks.